Hi, I'm Katie from stampwithkatie.com. People often ask me, how do you decide what size to cut all of your cardstock when you're making a card? So I thought I'd answer that question for you guys tonight. We'll start with this image here, and we'll end up with a nice finished card. In the last video, I showed you how to use the Stamp-A-Majig to line up all of these images. What I usually do, the way I decide what size to cut my cardstock, is I start with my main image. I stamp it on a scrap of neutral cardstock that I plan to use on my card, and then I use my Stampin' Trimmer to cut it down to a size and shape that is pleasing, that suits the card. I try to aim for some sort of a round number, 2 by 3, 2 by 4, something like that, to make it a little bit easier to do the calculations. Then from there, typically you want to mat your image on a piece that's about 1/4 of an inch bigger. For this card, I wanted to go with a little bit of a more formal look. We've got the top hat, the mustache, the bow tie. This is a cool card for Dad. So I wanted to go a little bit more formal, so I double matted this image. And the way you do that to get that formal look is you vary the size of the mats. So this first piece, and you don't have to memorize these measurements, just keep this in mind. The first piece that I have is 2 1/8 by 3 7/8. So my first mat, I wanted a really narrow border. So I just went 1/8 of an inch bigger all the way around. So I went 2 1/4 by 4. So I just increased each dimension by 1/8 of an inch. So we'll tape that down. Just like that. As you can see, that's a really narrow border on there. It's only a 1/16 of an inch on each side for a total of 1/8 of an inch. Then we'll go ahead and mat that on the next piece, which I went 1/4 of an inch bigger, so there's 1/8 of an inch on each side. So that's how you get that cool double mat. That's how you calculate those measurements. For the base of the card, basically you want to go with the size of your cardstock, the size of your envelope. A pretty basic size is 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. So that's what I've cut here, 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. And then for the front piece, I wanted it 1/4 inch smaller all the way around. So it's 5 1/4 by 4 once it's folded. So you got to do a little bit of math there. It comes out to 10 1/2 by 4. And then you fold it in half and it's 5 1/4. So we'll tape that down. Tie a piece of cherry cobbler ribbon around the front of the card. And we're just going to tie a knot. This card's for a guy, so we don't need a bow. I don't like tying bows anyway. I try to get by without them whenever I can. So tie a knot. Trim the ends. And then we'll put a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of your main image. And put that right in the center. And that's all there is to it. So basically, just keep in mind, stamp your main image, trim it down to even numbers so that it's easier to calculate, and then cut a mat that is either an 1/8 or 1/4 inch bigger. And that's all there is to it, really. There's no magic formula. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Katie with stampwithkatie.com.